Hi there, welcome back to this tutorial series about creating a mobile-friendly physics game in Construct 3. This is the session number 8, and we are going to create a 3-star simple scoring system for our players, so they can know how well they did in the level. So I want to share with you, and the first thing that I want to do is to apologize because uh, it happens that I actually already recorded and did all this process for you guys. But the thing is that I wasn't recording the audio. So there's a problem because now I have all the process done. I don't have the previous file, and and all the thing is already programmed here. So actually I want to tell you that this was a lesson that was intended to be less than 1 hour, and because of some books that appear at the last moment, uh, this lesson actually took more than almost more than 2 hours. So what I'm going to do, and I once more want to apologize to you guys, is that I'm going to explain step by step what I did to get to this point to create the 3-star scoring system, and that will allow us to have just one video with the intended extension of time, and hopefully it'll be very clear for you. If it is not, please let me some comments, send me a message, and I'll try to clarify anything for you. So let's start from the point we were before this lesson. We just designed and created our first level thinking on the game mechanics that we had. But now we want to create a scoring system to tell the players how they did on the level, and also to create some visual feedback to show them that. So basically what I wanted to do is to create this like level pop-up that will appear at the end of the level, and with 3 stars in it, we will tell the player uh, how did he or she played the level. So first of all, and before we get into the pop-up itself, let's talk about how we can determine whether or not the level is finished, because that is the first thing that we need to set. So we already established that the idea here is to kill all the enemies. So there are two basic conditions or situations that needs to be that may lead to the end of the level, or to the level be finished. So the first one, it's imagine that I shoot all my bullets and I have no more bullets. So if I run out of bullets, the level should be finished, because I don't have anything else to shoot, any more projectiles. So that's the first condition. The second, imagine we destroy all of our enemies, and even if I have more bullets left, I don't have a goal anymore because I already achieved my goal, which is destroying all the enemies. So with that in mind, we have to first establish when the level should be finished. And I want you guys to remember that we have different states here in our code. So the first one is the idle state, which is when the level starts and we haven't done yet anything and we are about to pick a bullet to shoot. During that state, and we are allowed to click on a bullet and use it to shoot. And as soon as we click on that bullet, we are going to the second state, which is aiming. And in that state, what I can do is to drag and move my mouse or my touch, if you are on a mobile device, and set in that way the angle and the strength that I'm going to put in that projectile. So that is the aiming state, and as soon as I release the button, it will send me to another state, which is the shoot state. That is what happens when I release the button, when I release the projectile, and it goes and do something here and here, whatever I manage to do. And after a certain time, which is this delay of 4 seconds, it will take me to another state. And here is where I want you to take to pay attention, because what we had before is that we're just always going back to the idle state, and that's what was happening before. But now we need to establish a state for when the game or when the level is finished, is completed, or I don't have any more projectiles to shoot. So here is where I decided to state two different conditions to determine whether or not we should go to idle state or we should go maybe to the level finish state. So what are those conditions? We already talked about them in the beginning of this video. So we need to establish if there are more bullets to be shot. So what I did is to link that value to this object, and I just decided to choose this object because it represents the catapult, the slingshot, kind of the main mechanic. But you can put this value, for example, in this object or something like that, because it's up to you. But two things: one, this represents for me the main mechanic, and second, this catapult center also, it's a unique element inside the whole level. There is no other instance of this. So I decided to put the variables on it. So you can see here I have two variables. The first one is bullets left, which means how many bullets I have left to use. So when the idea is that when this variable reaches 0, I should go to the finished level state. And the other one is the leveler score, but we are going to talk about it a little bit ahead. So first, just think about this variable, which is bullets left. And now that we have that variable there, we can say here when we are in our shot state, okay, I just shot. Where should I go? To idle to be able to shot again, or to level finished? So if I don't have any more bullets left, which means I'm sorry, if I have more bullets left, I should go to the idle state to be able to shoot again. That means that I am comparing the instance variable bullets left to see if it is greater than 0, because that means that I have at minimum or at least one more bullet to shoot. If that is the case, I will go to the idle state and will do all this process again. But if that variable is equal to 0, it means that I don't have any bullets left. So I shall go to the finished level state, which is a brand new state that we will have to create, but I already did. because I explained you why. But we have that condition here. So I created here this another state, which is the level finish state, and we're going to talk later about what's in there. But for now, we only need to know that we have that new level finished state. Okay, so we have program here whether we have to go uh, to the idle state or to the level finish state. But we talked before about another condition that could lead me to the level finished state, and that is uh, what if all the enemies are killed already, even if I have more bullets to shoot. So that's why I created this event here. So why this event is outside of the desktop and mobile group, and the reason is because this event is not device dependent. It could happen no matter what device I am working on. So I can use it here and it will work. Since it's outside of these two groups, it will work for both. So the idea here is that I am checking if I don't have any more enemies. And let me just increase this size. So the idea here is to check if I don't have any more enemies. So for that, I'm going to show you. I'm going to make again this action so you understand how you can do that. Let me add a new action, a new condition, sorry. And that is a system condition, and it's a very handy one because it allows us to compare two different values no matter what. So I'm going to type here 2 so it's easier to find. And here we have this condition. It's a system condition. It's called compared to values. Alright, so what I'm going to do is that I want to check if there are more enemies alive in the level. So you can do that, and I want to teach you to use this uh, impressive help that Construct has to find what you are looking for. So we're referring to enemies, so we're going to pick the family enemies, no matter what kind of enemies are we talking about. And we have here in the MISC area this expression, which means it will return the total number of instances that are present in the actual layout, in the actual scene. So we can use that expression, and we know now that this is the number of enemies that are still alive, and we need to compare if that is or not equal to 0, because if it is equal to 0, it will mean that there are no more enemies present. So that's, you can see that's the same condition I created before. And in case that there are no more enemies, it will wait 0.5 seconds and will get us to the level finished state instead of returning to the idle. And another thing I did is to nest this as a sub event of this other event. And you may wondering why it can be there, because I don't want basically to go to the level finish state if I am already there, because maybe for one of these actions that for this condition, I'm sorry, that may happen before, we are already in level finished. So this is just to make sure that I am not doing the same thing 2 times. So I basically comparing which variable is state and if it is any different from level finished. Okay, so I use equal to level finished, but I inverted the condition. So if we are not on level finished and there are no more enemies, we will be taken to the level finished state. So far we have made sure that our two conditions lead us to the level finished state. So now we have an actual end of the level. And to summarize, it will be when I have no bullets to shoot, or when there are no more enemies alive. So now we have the end of our level, and that is like the big first part of what we are doing. So the next thing here is to establish the score, because we want some sort of rating to give us feedback to the player. So how can we manage scoring? So the idea here is that we already established that the goal is to destroy all of the enemies, but how can do you better if you manage to destroy them all? So we have three opportunities, and a good solution for this is that if you spend or you have to use less opportunities to kill all the enemies, you should have more score. So what we are going to do is that every time we start with a basic score of 4, and every time we use a bullet, we will be taking away 1 unit of that score. And why 4, you may think? Because if we start on 4, it will mean that if I use only 1 bullet to destroy all of the enemies, at the end or in the end, that will be my top score, which is 3 stars. So if I begin on 4 for the value for that variable, and when I use 1 bullet, I will be taking away 1 unit, so I will have a score of 3. So that's why I created this other variable here. So a thing that I want you guys to keep in mind is that since this is a normal object and we are not using global variables, anytime that we reset the level, these variables are going to come back to the initial state that I stated here. So we will always begin with a value of 4 for this level score. So if I use my first bullet, in that moment this should be we should take away 1 unit, and this should be 3, and so on. So the idea is that the less bullets you use, the more score you will achieve at the end of the level. So that's one thing. And how we did, or how I managed to do that. So I already explained to you that we have a new variable here, and in the exact same moment that when I choose a bullet and I subtract 1 unit from the bullets left that we are doing here, we will also have to subtract or take away 1 unit from the level score, which means that for example, if I am on a score of 2 and I am on the shoot state, it will check it will check if I have more bullets or not, and if I have more bullets, it will take me to the idle state, and I will have to pick another bullet, and then another unit will be taken away from these two variables. So the idea is that when I am going to, when we go to the final state, which is the level finished state, we can check how much score we have, and according to that, show the player a specific number of stars. So it's time for us to check how we can do that. And the first thing here is that I have the variables now, I have the values, but I need something visual to show the player uh, how was his score or her score. So I created a new level, a new layer, I'm sorry, which is called level finished, and I put in there this background, which is basically a sprite object with no animation. The second thing I did is create a new text, and this text will change depending on if the level was clear or wasn't clear. And the other thing that I put in there is this button that we were using on mobile version to reset the level. But I made a change on to that, but we will talk about that later. For now, the other element that you need to be aware of is this star, and this star is basically one sprite with one animation and two frames, one for when the star is like new or isn't achieved, and the other one when the star shall be lit up to indicate that I earned that specific star. So this layer will be invisible from the beginning of the level and will be visible only when I reach to the state finished level. So you can see here that if I go to that state level finished, I have some actions here, and the first action that I actually have is to set the level finish layer visible. So whenever I go to this state, this will appear, this pop-up window with that information. So the second thing I did is to use a trigger once event, because these things that are going to happen only need to be happen one time, is that we have to check if the goal of the level was achieved or not. So in order to check that, we need these conditions, which means that we are checking if the count for the family enemies it's equal to 0 or not. So here is equal to 0, it is greater than 0. So in the case that it's equal to 0, it will mean that there are no more enemies, so the level goal was achieved. In that case, the message shown to the player should be that the level is cleared. Let me fix this here, a little typo. And we are going to show the player that the level was cleared, but also we need to tell the player how well they play. So how well they played or not. So we need to lit up the corresponding stars, and to do that, basically, before I show you this, I want to show you this. We have the stars here, and I created a variable, a number variable for them. So each star has a value there. You can see this is 1, this other star has a value of 2, and the third one has a value of 3. And the idea here is that if my score is, for example, only 1 at the end of the level, this star and only this star should lit up and become yellow. But if my score is 2, then these two have to become yellow, and of course if my score is 3, these 3 have to become yellow. So what we are doing here is exactly that, and we are saying that if the score ID of each star is less or equal than the level. Remember that we created the level score variable for the catapult center. So if it's less or equal, the star should lit up, because it means that I reach at least that level of score. So that's what happens in case that I manage to kill all the enemies and clear the level. But what happens if there are enemies alive? So I should get a message that I wasn't able to clear the level and I should try it again. And then therefore we don't need to put any actions for the star here, because all of the stars shall appear gray, and they are already gray in the first frame, so we don't need to do anything with the stars. So in that way we are giving our players feedback of how well they played the level and if they actually clear the level or not. So finally, the other thing that you need to be aware of is that I decided to use the button here as a general element, and at the beginning of our class the button was just an example of how sometimes you need to put in there visual elements and buttons for a touch device, and we were resetting the level just using the R key for desktop version. But actually you also have a mouse in the desktop version, and you should be able to click this button to restart the level. And since we have no more levels for now, what we are doing actually at the moment is just to always put this like replay the level button in the final state, which is the level finished state. So in order to do that, I just took away the button actions from the mobile device only group, and I erased that there, and I use the button here in the general code. And at the very end, if we are in the state level finished, then since this button is in the level finish ledger, it will be visible. For that I just change this property here and I check the initial visibility. So just by making the ledger visible, it will be also visible. And just in this state, if the button is being touched or tapped better, or if the button is being clicked, then we will wait like half a second and we will restart the level. So that's how I created the scoring system from what we had before. So let me show you guys how is that working. And other thing that I think that we are going to do here to better show you all of that I just explained you is to explain you again that looking here our debug tool, and you can if you choose anything here, if you click on any of these eye icons, it will make them visible here on the watch tab, and it'll be much easier for you to keep track on those elements. So what do we have here? First of all, we have the variable for our catapult center, the bullets left variable, and the level score variable. Second, we have the global variables, which are the kind of input device we are on. The second is this one we don't need. Actually, we need to erase this because we decided to replace that with this state variable, global variable. And you can see here that at the beginning we are on idle. Then we click on any bullet and we are already in the aiming state. So we can aim and shoot, and after that you can see after just I pick my first bullet, my value for bullets left uh, decreased to 2 and the level score decreased to 3. So I didn't kill any enemies, and maybe in the inspector you can, I wish I could, let's look for family enemies, and I can't see the count here, but I can see it here, so we are going to be watching that. This have no eye, so I cannot like watch them here unless I pick one specific, but no, this is general. So let's keep going. Let's take our second bullet and we are going to shoot that bullet with strength. We killed one, so you can see now how my level score, since I have used 2 bullets, is 2. The initial level score value was 4, remember that, so 4 minus 2, we have 2, and bullets left I have only 1. And if we go here you can see how family enemies, it's now down to 2. So let's keep doing something here. Let's try to hit this gorilla, and then this one is alive. So what should happen here is that I'm getting the message that I didn't clear the level because I have one enemy alive. Second, I have all the stars great because since I didn't clear the level, well, I don't have any score. And finally, we have the reset button here, and you can see here that my score shall be 1, but I am not having that score because I didn't clear the level. So you can also check here and see that we still have one enemy alive. It's behind the pop-up window, and we can reset and try to make some different here. Let's try to pass this level just with one shot, and maybe that's the shoot. Yeah, that shot was great. And you can see here how I have cleared the level, and I am getting a different message here, and I am also getting the 3 stars value because I have a score of 3 here. So since this is the star number 1 and is less than 3, and this is less than 3 2 because it is the star number 2, and this is the star number 3, which has an ID of value of 3, and 3 is equal to the level score, so they are all lit up. And finally, let's try to clear the level with 2 different bullets. So maybe I don't know, something like this. It didn't work, but I hope that I will be able to with a second shot kill the other 2. I'm not so bad at this game, and you can see how now we have 2 stars, and we can reset the level. The only thing that I don't like is that I still have this message, and we are going to talk about instructions because that was something that I also modified. But for now, we can check and we can prove that everything is working accordingly with the score system that we have created, and that is just great. So the final thing here is that this wasn't being very useful because it was reappearing every time and like telling the wrong stuff, because we didn't touch this anymore after our like 5 session. I don't quite remember, but now I created a new way for this to be useful and to work accordingly with each moment of the level. So what I did was to create a functions for that instruction, and it's cool and it's very efficient to use functions because you can state what is going to happen when that function is called, and then you only have to call it in the right events. So first thing I did is to create a function to show an instruction for the player when the state is idle, which means that you need to pick a bullet. So the function is called inst for instruction pick bullet, and here what it's going to do is to change the text of that element to choose a bullet, and then this is to position that instruction in the right place for that moment, and then I need it to be visible because its initial state is to be invisible, and that's the idea. You can see how here is uncheck this box, and what's going to happen is that when I call that function, it's going to position this box here in 224 by 224, and it's going to change the text, and then after changing the text is going to make it visible. So that's the function here, and I can now call it wherever I want. So let's look for the right place here, and it'll be just when you are on idle, because that means that it is moment for you to pick a bullet. So in that moment I am calling that function. But as soon as you pick one bullet, which means you click on one of the 3 bullets that we have here, in that moment the instruction should be invisible because you don't need it anymore. So that's happening there. The other function for the instruction is to tell the player when the after he has chosen a bullet, a specific bullet, what he or she needs to do in order to shoot. So this function is called inst for instruction, aim for aim, and desktop because this will be a particular instruction for the desktop. So the instruction will be click and drag to aim, and we are going to change the position because that instruction shouldn't appear like up there, but here it's more appropriate that way because we are going to click and drag like here. So in that way I can call that function specifically in the aiming state of the game. So the first thing I do is to call that function that will make that instruction appear in the right place. But as soon as I start dragging, which means as soon as my left button of the mouse is down, we will set that instruction invisible. So here we have these two instructions, and that's what you are seeing. If we play once more, you'll notice how I have that instruction, and when I pick a bullet, it disappears and appears here to tell me that I should drag. And when I drag, I just I don't need anything else. It disappears, and after the end of the round, after the 4 seconds delay, it will show me that it's time again to pick a bullet and that I can shoot again. So it also serves for that. And when I choose it, it's going to happen the same thing. So it's an efficient way to manage the instructions. I destroyed that one, so the level is finished. The only thing we have left to do here is to make this invisible when I am on the level finished, because I don't need it anymore. So to make sure that that happens, we only have to add something here. I believe we have, okay, if level is finished, then we have to make the instruction text invisible, and then it should be okay. Let's check it's working well. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I killed that one. Let's make sure that we, for example, and now just with one bullet the level is finished, and we just discover one thing that we need to polish in our mechanics, because that bullet took longer than 4 seconds to destroy the final enemy, but we tested before that happened to go to the level finished state. So here supposedly I didn't finish the level, but I actually did. But what I want you guys to notice now is that now I don't have that instruction appearing anymore, and I can just restart the level and it will go back and work as intended. So it's important, and maybe we will have to link the end of the level to when this to when our bullets, our active bullet, is in no movement anymore. It will be a safer way to tell the game that I can make my next shot. I'm sorry. So anyway, that's something we have to refine for our game mechanics, but the intention of this session is a shift. Actually, we have now this system this 3-star simple scoring system and a pop-up to show our players at the very end of the level. So once again, I want to apologize with you guys because all of this wasn't show like being in the making because I have that audio problem. But hopefully this was clear enough for you. And if it is not, please let me know. I will answer any of your questions, of your doubts. But actually, I think this was still a fun lesson, and I hope to see you guys in the next lesson.